Hey, what's up? Well, I am so happy that I put up some blue Christmas lights and a Christmas tree for decoration because it has gotten so close to Christmas that we have, what, 10 days or so? Oh my gosh, 10 or 11 days. Oh my gosh, it's just getting down to the wire, just like every year. And I'm wearing my Christmas shirt that's really thin, so I put it over a long sleeve shirt. And really and truly, I think that's awesome to have a thin Christmas shirt in case it's hot. But then if it's cold, you just double it up. So, what I like to talk about in this video is I want to title it Christmas in the Tropics. And it's going to be somewhat of an unboxing because it might be my last video before I go to my mom's house once again for Christmas. You know, I really and truly, I wish I could just say, you know what, I'm spending Christmas with my dad, whether you like it or not. I have one residence and that's where I'm going to be for Christmas, but unfortunately it doesn't work that way. You know, because if something happened to my mom, and a year from now I no longer had the option to be with her, I can never forgive myself. And that's yet another thing that I do not have in common with my sister. Like, we are as different as sisters could possibly ever be. Because, you know, she's basically cut her mom out of her life with no regrets, no second thoughts. And I, on the other hand, could never do that. What I like to do is first unbox my two last things from Timu, and I already took them out the package. What they are, they're kind of heavy. They're two Manga or Manga dolls that I'm having my doubts as to why I bought them. But the attraction is this. The attraction is in the fact that they look like they could be Barbie scale, but they're not as tall as a Barbie or Ken doll. And therefore, I have no idea who those characters are. Manga or manga characters, but there's some Japanese video game character. No, I'm not into that. Wish I were. It would be a lot better than what I've been into. But to me, you know, that is a very attractive thing about a doll, is when it's somewhat of a 1/6 doll, but not a full 12 inches. And while I'm at it, I want to talk about other dolls that fit that description and how I finally got around to changing the hair color on my little Skipper knockoff boys so that this one looks like a bleach blonde and this one looks like he has his natural auburn looking hair color that matches his eyebrows. And they're both shorter, significantly shorter than a Ken doll. And let's see, I put little straight pins to keep their hats on once the hair dried. Let's see, I want the hat to be kind of backwards somewhat, not all the way like that, so that you can still see his hair color, but you won't see the imperfections of the paint job that I may have done. And you will see this guy, let's see, and this guy are slightly, they're not like twins, they're not dressed like twins, they're twins but not dressed like it. Then of course you have the girls. And so, it kind of averts the trope wherein boy dolls tend to be tokens. And what I mean by that is, like, it's always a token boy. I've always hated that. Or it's like with the girl dolls, you have all kinds of variation in hair color and maybe even eye color. But with the boy dolls, you know, it's all basically just one character with very little variation. And sometimes, you know, he'll be dressed differently, like in different versions, you know, like the basketball version. And, you know, but he's basically just the same guy over, I mean, well, just one boy in a line of girl dolls that's mass produced. But I like the idea of having at least one variation on hair color. He looks like he could be a redhead or a light brunette. Basically matches his eyebrows. And then of course you have your bleach or platinum blonde variety in blue to accentuate his blue eyes. And so there you have it. Two different versions of one boy doll. And with the girls, it's like 3. So anyway, the other thing I want to talk about, you see, I'm getting all these little projects done before I go to my mom's house. Because for obvious reason, I won't be able to do them because I can't bring them. And I don't know if I showed my elf mates last year, but I do have 3 of them. I'm not real sure if by the time I got back, I may not have ever made a video. I have all 3 versions. The blonde, brunette, and redhead. So anyway, these are my Oodles. And I already had those from years ago. And I want to talk about the Oodles for a little while. What they were is they were these, I've always had this fantasy every year at Christmas. It comes back into my mind. And the Oodles by Mel Birnkrant, Birnkrant, LJ and Oodles. They were these little baby dolls whose hair looks like a dip cone at Dairy Queen, like a little curly Q on top. And basically, I mean, I don't think I kept the cards, but they date back to 1986. That's when they first came out, so I would have been 3 years old. And I actually had 2 of them from back in the day, but I no longer have them. And I've always had this fantasy about putting them on a Christmas tree, like a tree with rainbow lights, because their accessories come in the colors of rainbow lights on a tree. You got pink, yellow, light green, and light blue. And, you know, I mean, obviously I've never done it, but I just thought that would be cute if somebody would have had a tree with these little babies hanging on Christmas hooks. And I'd rather they be clothed, but obviously you can't do that with the way their limbs are. And these are for the Coochie Koodles series that I did put clothes on. And so, the thing about the Oodles that I didn't like, I don't know if I've talked about them before, but they came with like a little card, you know, and they would have like a silly name. There was like a plain old ordinary regular name, such as, I mean, I know them by memory for the most part. Scott Oodle, Jennifoodler, Maygoodlin, and Victoodleoria. And what it was just a regular, ordinary name, you know, such as Scott, Jennifer, Megan, Victoria, and it would have the word Oodle somewhere in their name. And they have like a birth date. And they would have a little write-up, you know, their first word and their favorite thing. And, you know, the only thing is I don't think I've ever heard I've seen a lot of their little cards. The two that I used to have but don't were Dave Oodle. He was born March 16th. And he had a blue bottle. And then I had one named Karen Oodle, and she was sucking a pink pacifier, born like January 21st or something. And it was like, I don't have them because what I did was I ruined them. I tried to draw clothing on them when I was little with permanent marker, and that didn't work out well. But it bothered me that they were nude. But the other thing that bothers me, other than I've just never seen a card with the month of October as a birthday. For some reason, I've seen Oodles born in every month but October. Maybe because it starts with an O, I have no idea. But it was like in the days of the Cabbage Patch Kids, and where dolls with birth dates were cool or something. But what bothers me also, other than the lack of clothing, is how they decided on a gender, and it was coded with the trimming on the border of their card. It was either pink or blue, and at least like 2/3 of them were pink. You know, they were mostly girls, and it was the weirdest thing. It was like they came in 4 different skin tones, and what they would do is, like, number 1, it was a dozen in a series, and there were 4 series. So number 1 and 7 would be white. Number, I think 2 and 8, 3 and 9, those would all be white kids. Okay, 4, 5, 6, as well as 10, 11, 12 would be the darker skin tones, from light to dark, or something like that. And what they did was they made sure that in the 3 darker skin tones, they made sure to have at least 1 boy and 1 girl in each series. And they also made sure to have at least 1 white boy and girl in the lightest skin tone, my favorite for obvious reasons. But then the rest of the white kids were all girls. So that, you know, the boys were actually more likely to be darker than white, you know, some other color but white. But the girls, you know, were predominantly white. It was predominantly white girl babies. And, you know, being a numbers person, I was able to figure that out. The average character was a girl character in the lightest skin tone. You know, that was your typical doll. But what bothers me, you know, they were given girl names and female identities when there was no reason in the world. Like, most of them, I mean, some of them, you know, I mean, I can see why Tiffany right here is a girl. She's got a pink pacifier. I can see why Marissa is a girl. That's Mark. And he's kind of got a darker skin tone. That's Susan, the little black girl. And that one right there is Laura. Okay? And she's a perfect example of why the hell, you see, basically they all look like the same baby. I mean, they just look like the same cartoon baby doing different things. But most of the girl characters kind of leave me wondering, how is this a girl? Because they don't look any different from the boys. Obviously they don't have genitals. Um, there's nothing male or female about them. But it had me wondering, like what is so feminine about a baby with a green pacifier? How is that Laura and not, some other male name that they use, like Billy? And it just, and like Brendoodle. I always thought it should have been Brendoodlin, like Brendan. The one with the green bottle, it's like, how is a green bottle feminine? So, it just always bothered me. It's like, it's the same thing with all dolls. It just really, it's like, I can see that they want to appeal to little girls and they think somehow, girls prefer a doll that's also a girl. Although I didn't, my favorites were always the boy dolls. But, it's like, it's just the way I feel about all dolls. It's like, how is a nude baby doll, just being a baby? Yeah, why are they predominantly feminine? Is what I've always looked at them and thought, what, if I want to call it a male name, I should have the right to think of it as a male, because it doesn't really have a gender. It can't reproduce and it's not a female. So how's it not a male? If I want it to be male. I can understand why I'm not male. But a doll really doesn't have a gender. And so yeah, it's like, some of them, yeah, I could see femininity because they were doing stereotypically girly things like wearing a bow or something, but a lot of them, it's like, why? Why do 2/3 of them have to be called female names and referred to as girls? You know what I'm saying? What's so bad about thinking of a doll as a boy when it passes for one in my mind? And especially a baby. I'll never understand, why other people either haven't made this connection or made the opposite connection, especially men. Infancy is to me, it is a very masculine state of being, I think. I see a baby as masculine. I don't see them as feminine. They are gender neutral, but if I just see a picture of a baby and I don't know what gender it is, I assume it's a boy. Because to me, I don't know, the fact that they can go without a shirt, the fact that they're in diapers, not ashamed of it, and they're not image conscious, and you know what I'm saying, they need a woman to take care of them. I see babies as being very masculine, not feminine. So for the vast majority of baby dolls to be girls doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Other than the fact that girls play with them. But I've always been like of the mindset that, just because it's said to be a girl, why can't you just think of it as a boy? You know what I'm saying? If it still looks like it could be a boy or it's unisex, why not think of it as a boy? Because that is what I'd by far rather it be. So yeah, it's like, oh, and I forgot to really go into what I want to title this video. Christmas in the Tropics. So we don't really live in the tropics. We kind of live in the subtropics, where it's kind of the worst of both worlds. But, I've spent my whole life along the Gulf Coast. Like, I've never been anywhere but the Gulf Coast. And, so we live in the subtropics, and I feel like we kind of have the worst of both worlds in the sense that, like, we don't have snow like it is up north, and we don't have like a Christmas that looks like a freaking popcorn can or postcard, like a white Christmas on the one hand, but then on the other hand, I was watching Donovan's Reef, and that's what kind of got me thinking about this subject, Christmas in the tropics. And I'm thinking about how it's such a refreshing thing, yeah, I like that movie in a way. I don't like everything about it, but I like the way it's like you actually have a movie where you hear Silent Night, but then they don't go outside and see a blanket of white snow. You know what I'm saying? It's not like Home Alone where, um, you know, it's just all about snow and like the things that you typically associate with Christmas and Winter Wonderland and Frosty the Snowman. You know what I'm saying? Christmas mythology, basically. It's like they actually, yeah, they have the manger scene and everything, and they talk about like the true meaning of Christmas, but they don't really, you know, they don't. Well, they're in the tropics. You know, I think they're in Hawaii, and you know, it's like it's just a good reminder that people in tropical climates and even the southern hemisphere experience Christmas as well. You know, they celebrate Christmas in their own way. And you know, I just wish there was more of that, you know, more movies like, you know, where it's Christmas, but it's set in a place where they are not gonna have snow. You know, but I just feel like, you know, and I mean the reality is that it's not guaranteed to snow on Christmas, even if you live up north. You know, I mean, just as we have unseasonably warm Christmases, well, they have. It's probably always cold by my standards, but it doesn't necessarily snow, is what I'm saying. You know, they could have like, you know, our typical weather for Christmas when we're having hot weather. You know, and so yeah, it's like we're kind of in between, and so we kind of have the worst of both worlds. You know, we could have anything from hot weather to really cold weather. I mean, we could have a hard freeze, or we could have hot weather, or we could have something in between that's just kind of, you know, kind of miserable. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Kind of like humid, semi-cold. Like you get down into the 40s at night, but then in the daytime it's the 50s or the 60s. So you feel cold, but yet nobody really feels sorry for you because it's not that cold. You know, it's like, I don't even know, like not cold enough to snow, but then not, you know, like our summertime weather, not warm enough to go outside and in a pair of shorts, or not for me to, not warm enough to swim, which, as I've stated before, I'm not allowed to swim except for like Memorial Day till Labor Day. So yeah, video's gotten way too long. You know, that's what talking about those dolls will do. So yeah, I'm not gonna order anything else, and I hope to have a Merry Christmas. I hope the weather is good.